Such a forensic approach to coming into the marketplace now.
When people think about Paul Harrison as an agent, I don't want them to think, oh, he sells those big homes, he gets those big prices. What I want them to think is, he helped my sister, or he helped my mum, or he helped me.
We actually wanted to deep dive, meet most of the agents, go around all the open homes, get to know people, to get an understanding, not just with our business, but all the others.
I think that's what happens when you surround yourself with quality people. You then want to be a part of that.
Welcome to another episode of the K-Series podcast, and today we have Paul Harrison. Paul's joined Kollosche recently and come up from Melbourne. He's had a very extensive career down there working with Nelson Alexander and running the businesses down there. Paul, welcome, and look forward to hearing your story.
Thanks, Michael. Excited to be here. Where would you like to start?
Probably initially your background in real estate. Obviously, you've been working in real estate for some time down in Melbourne. Let's just talk a bit through that and your journey up to the Gold Coast, and then we can get into what's drawn you to Kollosche after a pretty extensive review of the entire market and landscape.
Forensic. Yeah. Look, I was a late bloomer in real estate. So I got into real estate at 33. I was heavily involved in my sport up until then. So the weekends were always a deterrent for me. Got to 33, had a successful career in corporate recruitment. And then I'd met a guy through football, Jason Marston, who owned a boutique agency called Marston & Cook in Flemington. Started with him as a sales manager. So I got straight into it, cut my teeth with him for a good 8 or 10 years. About 10 years on, we wanted to get a lot bigger. We wanted to grow the rent roll, wanted to grow the sales team. We wanted to expand into other areas, and so we merged with Nelson Alexander, who are a network of 15 or 16 offices, not a franchise model, but similar. And
predominantly corporate owned, or
corporate owned, and that was like putting a jetpack on.
Yep.
We went from this insular brand to a brand that had reach, like Kollosche. And we went into other markets, and we went into other disciplines, and so for the last 10 years, it's been a real boost.
Perfect. And where were the offices based that you're involved in?
Yes, so we were sort of inner north, so Essendon, Ascot Vale, and Flemington. Most people know Flemington from the races down there in Melbourne, so they're all a big catchment in the city Moonee Valley. We did about 1,000 transactions a year on a sales side, and we managed about 3,500 properties on our rent roll.
Pretty large business.
Large business, yeah.
What size sales team?
It was about 50-50, so we had about 90 staff and about half sales and about half property management.
Perfect.
With a mixture of admin in there as well.
And what would your role be along in that sort of, was it multiple hats?
Yeah, it was a man of many hats. You know what that's like. It was, I was still listing and selling like you, so I was a selling principal. I did all our training, recruitment, very heavily involved in the property management because that was a big part of our business. A lot of meetings, mate, as you know, early and late. Yeah, called auctions. I was our chief auctioneer as well. Yep. So yes, man of many hats. Mentoring, making sure that the guys made that progression through from, and a lot of the guys like Kollosche, a lot of the guys came from our admin side, went through property management, came into sales as an associate, and then went out on their own, and then end up having their own associates. So great watching their journeys.
And what sort of price point would that be that you'd be selling in for the stuff you're handling down there?
Well, me personally, I was more at the high end. So our high end in our market was probably 10 mil tops, and 2 or 3 mil on most days.
Yep. Okay, great. And now you've made the transition to the Gold Coast. What was the catalyst for that? And tell us a little bit about that journey over the course of the last probably 6 months.
Yeah. Well, look, it was two or 3 years in the making, to be honest. My wife and I moved out of Melbourne. We've got a now 5-year-old, nearly 6. We moved out of Melbourne 3 years before we moved to the Gold Coast. We moved to the surf coast of Melbourne. Most people know Torquay. We were Jan Juck. We moved there for 3 years because we wanted a better lifestyle. We just had probably grown tired of Melbourne. Not just the weather, but just the way that it was being run too. So we went to the surf coast, which we thought would be a great lifestyle, and it had the right environment and the right vibe. It just didn't have the right climate. So you work 6 days a week, you get 1 day a week to have some family time, and it would be pouring rain and miserable. So I just floated it to my wife one day and said, what about the Gold Coast? And she said, if you could get us there before Bo starts primary school, I'm in. We've never seen anyone move so quickly, mate. It was about 6 days of phone calls. I was on the phone to everyone. We found a school, we found a rental, and we're up here by Christmas. But it was, I thought about it 12 months prior and just wondered whether I could extricate myself out the businesses. That was probably the hardest thing. You feel a sense of responsibility to the 90 odd staff that you've got. So it's just breaking away from that.
Yep. And obviously you came up and saw us, I think, in the early days through a referral from a mutual friend, and then as I understand it, you sort of moved in, got settled, found a place, had your licences and everything mutually recognised, and then did the rounds during that period of all the different businesses and brands and boutiques and independents and franchises. Tell us a bit about that journey and what you learned.
Look, I think that was
maybe without naming too many.
Yeah. No, and look, and I met with some great people. There's no doubt. You and I have had this discussion. There were some things that were really important to me from where I'd come from, and so you're trying to find a brand and an organisation that's aligned to that. I had some key criteria that was. I keep going back to your website, which is integrity, collaboration, community. They were so high up on my list of criteria. And when I went through and I ticked the boxes, you do your pros and cons. When I went through and I ticked the boxes, Kollosche came on top in just about every field there was. So it was a bit of a no-brainer in the end.
And I think what I noticed was you actually wanted to deep dive, meet most of the agents, go around all the open homes, get to know people, to get an understanding, not just with our business, but all the others, whether or not they were living up true to the words that they did display on their websites and through all their marketing and that they espouse through all of the social media.
Yeah, I think, walk the walk and talk the talk, isn't it? So I did. I forensically went through every agency that I thought that I could see myself working for. And I did, and I had a lot of meetings with a lot of agents. I went to a lot of auctions, opens, in-room auctions. Like, I wanted to see everything, because you do things a bit differently up here. So I wanted to make sure that when I made the decision, I made it with all the information at hand. And I did. I sort of ruled a few out early. Then I sort of narrowed it down to a couple. But as I said, when I sat down and did all the things, checked off all the things that were important to me, it was Kollosche. Then I sort of reverse engineered everything a little bit, and I went to some of my really good contacts up here, and I said, think about working for Kollosche. And they're like, Kollosche? Oh, mate, best brand on the Gold Coast. Well, that franked everything for me, because once I'd got that affirmation from them, already feeling how I felt, it became a bit of a no-brainer.
And these are a lot of people from Melbourne, obviously.
Yeah, a lot of Melbourne people that have been up here, but 0 to 15 years.
Yep, perfect. And so I noticed you've really integrated yourself into the community already, a lot of the sporting clubs. Tell us a little bit about that. And
yeah, it's probably easy when you've got a 5-year-old, because you're straight into for starters, we're at prep at Miami State. So you meet all the parents there. He plays sport, so we're football at Broadbeach Cats. He's just started Nippers, so we're at Mermaid Beach Surf Life Saving Club. So you kind of, by default, when you've got a child, especially a young child, you do get involved in the community pretty quickly. But that's super important to me. So that our brand was built on that. I always said to my guys, I don't mind. It's not about sales. And so when people think about Paul Harrison as an agent, I don't want them to think, oh, he sells those big homes or he gets those big prices. What I want them to think is, he helped my sister, or he helped my mum, or he helped me, and I think I get more fulfilment out of real estate that way than I do about the rest of it. So the community was really important to me, and again, I went to that fundraiser that you had, the Kollosche fundraiser, the big event that raised over 800,000. I mean, mate, I was in awe. I thought that some of the things that we've done in Melbourne that we raise 20 and 30 and 40,000 for these small sporting clubs or non-for-profits. And I go to this gala event where everyone was putting in. Yeah, that, again, if I needed any more affirmation, that was it.
Yeah, good. So you've been in the industry now for some time. I guess a lot of people watching these, they're looking for, I guess, pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
You've moved from a market where you're really well established business owner. You've sort of burnt the bridges and the boats and sold everything and decided to come up here. That's never an easy decision to make, but walking into a new market now, getting set up, and you said to me the other day, give me one listing and I'll make a career out of it. And so we're into that phase now, just about to start. We've got everything ready to go. What's on the cards for the next 5 years for you, and what do you see, and what advice would you give anyone that's thinking about making these moves or new to real estate?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And look, and this is a credit to your brand and your organisation. When I came up here at first, it was to take the foot off. It was to have a better lifestyle. It was to spend more time with my family and be more present. And then you get here and you get into the organisation. There's all these high performers. And, the bell rings and you see things on the board, and then you're like, hang on, I think I want to be a part of this. And the competitive beast comes out in you. But I think that's what happens when you surround yourself with quality people. You then want to be a part of that. So my mindset's changed even since you and I first met. It was more about maybe do a few deals here and there and lean on my Melbourne network that lives up here. Now it's like get me in there. Like I can't wait to get in and sink my teeth into something. So, and that, as I say, that's a credit to the organisation, because that's brought that out in me, where I didn't come up with that frame of mind, but just being in the office, that's what's given me. It's sort of that drive now to be a part of that. So I think, look, for anyone getting into real estate, it's a journey. Like, it's a long game. I learnt very early. I'll tell you a quick story. I'd been in real estate 3 months, and a fairly good friend of mine was selling their home. And I said, hey, I'm working for Marston & Cook. I've just started in real estate, I'll sell your home for you. And they're like, oh, look, you're sort of in Flemington, you're working for this little boutique office, and there's this guy, he sells everything in our area, and he works for a really big brand, and sorry, but we're going to go that way. And so I learnt really quickly, I took it personally at first, but I learnt really quickly that it's not a right to sell someone's home. It's actually a privilege. And that was a good lesson to learn early in my career. So it was all about building relationships. It was all about letting people know that, hey, I'm here. I had a successful career in corporate recruitment. How could you not want me to sell your house? I'm a real estate agent now, but I've been a real estate agent for a minute. And I think it's really important to get people over time to become people's real estate advisor is a lot more than just saying, hey, I'm in real estate. So I think it's a long game. Build relationships. They're so important. And the rest is a byproduct of that. The sales and the success and everything comes from that. And I think the other thing I'd say is just be yourself, because if you create a facade, then that's hard to sustain for 20 years in a career. But if you're yourself, it's really easy just to turn up every day and be you.
Yeah, be authentic.
Be authentic, yeah, be genuine. And again, you'll reap tomorrow what you sow today. It's a long game.
Yeah. So you've spent this first few weeks just really analysing every market, working out the intricacies of it, trying to upskill yourself, become a sort of strategic advisor and learn as much local knowledge as possible. It's just been interesting to watch, whereas most people sort of come in quite slowly, and you've taken a very precise, calculated approach, which shows a bit of an old head with plenty of experience there. So I'm looking forward to good things and gaining a lot more market share with you in those markets we're going to focus on.
Yeah, very much the same. Yeah, can't wait to get stuck into it.
Obviously, after such a forensic approach to coming into the marketplace now and the agencies, you've looked very carefully at the areas that you want to work and those that you're probably drawn to and a bit passionate about. Where's your focus going to be, and how do you plan to attack that coming into a new market?
Yeah, good question. Look, I found the Gold Coast is similar to the catchment that I worked in that you can. I think the more focused you are on a particular, location or suburb, you can get drawn out to other areas. But I guess, Bo's going to school at Miami State. He plays sport at the Broadbeach Cats. Nippers at Mermaid Beach. We live in Mermaid Waters, so that naturally will gravitate to those areas: Broadbeach Waters, Mermaid Waters. Yep. Perhaps parts of Miami as well. I train at the local body fit in Miami as well. I've got a really good core of friends there and met a lot of great people. I think that largely would be the area that I'd work in. But as you know, you with your contacts that you have, you can get drawn into other areas and
or relationship based.
Yeah, you want to sell. You want to sell good homes for good people. So
Yep.
I'm open to that too.
Perfect. All right, mate. Thanks for your time, and look forward to seeing your success.
Thanks for having me.